What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Carpool Gaming for another fun review discussion centered on Star Wars Tales from the Galaxy's Edge Enhanced Edition, provided to us by the wonderful developers at ILM Labs, which is a huge shout out to them for hitting us up with the review codes, and PlayStation Canada as well. We've been playing it on PSVR too. We have thoughts, feelings, and opinions that we will deliver to you at the utmost speed, starting with the Supreme Court of Canada himself, Mr. Court Lalonde. What's up, Court?
Honestly, it was right there to say we deliver with the Force, and you just, I don't think Ryan would have messed that up. I'm just saying.
Actually,
Just
I
saying.
didn't even think about it until you just mentioned it, Court.
I even watched Mandalorian today. Like, I am good. I am good. I am good, young Padawan. I am good.
Thank you, Senor Jedi. And joining us for this awesome discussion, back to the PlayStation Drive, Mr. Ryan Turford. What's up, Ryan?
Oh, well, the weather is a nice, cool 1 degrees outside here in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. It's mostly clear outside. It's not really raining or anything like that. And I'm good.
I'm glad that you're both good. We are here to talk all about Star Wars. We've been playing it. Star Wars Tales from the Galaxy's Edge Enhanced Edition, of course, takes the original game, which has been out for a few years now, combines it with the Last Call DLC, giving us one big, meaty package that we have been experiencing on the PSVR 2. Let's talk about it. Court, how have you been enjoying it?
As a game that I thought was just a shovelware almost. I really did think that because it was coming from the PSVR 1 and the reviews weren't great. I was pleasantly surprised when I jumped in. As someone that has been to Galaxy's Edge in Orlando, a lot of the set pieces when we're in the bar and we're walking through, that's a lot of that is in Galaxy's Edge, and it's very cool. Yeah, so like a lot of a lot of the characters that we see that you don't know from Star Wars lore, they're actually from the theme park. They introduced in like the Millennium Falcon ride and even the bar. And as I'm a huge fan of Star Wars, I was just in awe to be in a world that was created that was like a Star Wars world. And you kind of hit the nail on the head, Matt, when and in one of the texts you sent me when you were like, I feel like I'm playing Uncharted Star Wars. And that's what I was feeling as well, because you get that tool, which that's one my only gripe about this game. I truly think that you're allowed to play it in sitting down mode, but you need to be standing to play this game because it's very hard to touch your tool belt.
Mm-hmm.
And I did have a lot of nausea. This was the only game that gave me to start off. But once I got my VR legs, I was in it to win it, and I have no problem. Like today, I played it for just over 3 hours today in one, and like had no issues. Like I was going in and out, but no issues. Um, I really like the feel of when I have the blaster in my hand and I'm shooting. I find it very responsive. Like if I'm hitting headshots, I'm hitting where I want to be hitting. I like the activities. I like the little puzzles that they give you to do throughout. There's little boxes and you've got to take the screws off. That is so cool. Just even like burning off the box to take it
Mm-hmm.
off. I I will say I haven't gotten to a point where I get to use the lightsaber and it's just irking me. I just want to get to it. But I will say that they've done a very good job of immersing you in the world of Star Wars and making you feel like you're a character in Star Wars.
Yeah, well said. Ryan, what about your thoughts?
All right. I'm of two
Mhm.
minds on this one. Now, Court, you actually bring up a good point where I do think the game does do a good job of immersing you in the world of Star Wars, whether it's just, the sound effects, the visual design of everything, the characters themselves, the dialogue, like all that stuff feels very Star Warsy to me. And I love the idea of having a VR Star Wars game. Like, I think that's just such a great idea to have, like, even going back to PSVR 1 and having the add-on for Star Wars Battlefront, where you could play, that one X-Wing mission in VR was really cool. And I'm kind of sad that we haven't had anything Star Wars related besides that until now. So it's just weird to me that this is the first thing we've have. So on that side of the coin, I do think that the game actually nails that. But Court, you brought this up a little bit, and I'm going to further this discussion a little bit by saying that this game got me very motion sick, whether I was standing up or sitting down. And to Court's point, you can't really play this game sitting down. You can try, you really can, but you can't really reach everything comfortably because you're doing this. You're reaching down to your tool belt and trying to get your blaster or your tools and stuff. And half the time you're just again waving your arm around for 5 minutes before you finally pick up what you need to pick up. The controls just don't really work nearly as well as I think they needed to be a comfortable sit down experience. And then standing up, really, as soon as you throw in the motion of using your jetpack to go up and down a little bit, my body was just like, you can't play this game anymore. You just need to kind of put this game down and throw it out there. So I will say that, if you want to hear more about, my experiences as someone who does get very motion sick in VR with some experiences, but others I don't. And it is weird that, certain games you'd think I would get motion sick with, but I don't. And then others like this.
Horizon. I'm surprised you didn't get it with Horizon because it's
Yeah.
like that's a lot of motion.
Yeah, I didn't with that, but I did with this, which is just the weirdest
run
thing.
in Horizon. You can't run. You can just you move. And I do think, Ryan, in Star Wars, I think the biggest issue that I found is they move you fast.
Yeah.
You move
I mean,
fast.
you can move with just the teleportation, but
Yeah.
even with the teleportation, I found myself still getting sick, especially standing up, which is really where I think this game excels. Because I do think, to your point, Court, I think this game is a solid experience if you're standing up. Because I think if you can get through that and if your body can tolerate it, then I think you're probably going to have a lot of fun with this game. But I know for someone like me, I almost feel like there needs to be a patch to maybe, help improve the controls or add maybe more accessibility options for some of this stuff to maybe help, curb that experience a little bit. But that's just my personal experience. I know, again, with VR, everyone's experience is vary a lot with this type of thing. But for me, it was definitely hard for me to play this game for more than 10 minutes at a time, even in the starting area. But I did want to keep playing through it because I like Star Wars and I wanted to, go like finally get off the ship after scanning the boxes and, go planet side and go to the bar and stuff like that. I wanted to see all that stuff. So that's why I kept playing it despite the fact that my body did not want to keep playing it. But Matt, what about you? What do you think about this?
Yeah, so I'm really enjoying this game so far. I'm probably, I would say, like 2-ish hours in, and it really does feel like Star Wars Uncharted. I know, like, looking into reviews, kind of Court was mentioning, the reviews are a little bit all over the place on this one, and I think it's because from a lot of what people are saying, the first half of the game compared to the second half of the game, which is the DLC is apparently far better and is a much, much cooler experience, and they do a lot more in the world. But despite that, I'm really enjoying what the game is on its own legs. It really does feel like Uncharted, but Star Wars in VR. You're moving from one location to the next, taking out enemies, and it's a really fun ride. And interacting with some of these Star Wars characters that we know and love is really, really cool. I find that the gunplays, it makes me laugh because even as you're aiming properly, it's like I feel like almost like a stormtrooper sometimes, just with the way that the bullets fire out. You're like, now I understand how they miss all the time, but it's cute, it's fun, it works in that respect. I think the biggest kind of qualms that I have with this game is this does feel like a game that was stuck between two generations, right? The PS, like the original, the OG VR to what we have now, there's some holdover. For example, you grab the guns with the sense controller, you use your R1, which is on kind of like your middle finger, for example. You have to keep holding it to hold your gun. If you let go, the gun drops. So you're stuck kind of in perpetuity walking around, because you'll have your holsters and you can buy upgrades later to expand how much you can carry. But like, for example, these guns run out of steam quick. So I have 2 on my belt and I'm walking around with 2 more, and I'm constantly just holding the controller for dear life as I'm trying to hold on to these weapons. So I think that is kind of the biggest qualm for me. And similarly, I am very, very prone to motion sick. And I've done a lot of work to get those VR legs, but stepping back into this game for the first time, I did feel woozy after the first like 15 to 20 minutes. Similarly, the first time I used that jetpack, I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to put this down now. Spending more time in the VR and other games and then coming back to this one, I felt a lot better. I was able to play for over an hour without stopping. It didn't hit me anywhere near as hard the second time around coming back to it. But I will say that I think it's just a victim of being stuck in between two eras of VR and kind of being brought to PSVR 2. I think it does need a little bit more massaging and a little bit more patches to kind of help out with the kind of, motion sick and the kind of general control scheme. So I think the game is really, really cool. I'm very excited similarly to get to the part where you can use the lightsaber, where we do see more of these characters that we know and love. I think this game is fantastic and it's really, really cool. I will say that this is probably the one that I would say, if there is a demo, which I'm not sure off the top of my head if there is or if there isn't, this
I'm
would be
actually pretty sure there is.
perfect. This is a one that I would very much recommend. Check out the demo first, not because of the quality of the game, but just because I do think that this is one of the most nauseating ones up front out right now. And it's not like I think the game is really cool, but again, you don't want to be spending, I think it's like 70 Canadian dollars and then not be able to play it because that would suck. But I do think the game is really, really cool. I'm excited to keep going with it. Does anyone else have any other kind of major thoughts about Star Wars before we kind of, head towards the finale?
I have a million thoughts about Star Wars, but about the game
Yeah.
itself, uh, um, I I am very impressed with the detail.
Hmm.
When you see the world, it is one of those games because some of those VR games, it's just like after the fall, I'm just like it's like they didn't care about what the background looked like. It's almost like a painting that you're moving through. I was very impressed as you're going through the levels and you're going through even the bar and stuff, and you look down. The detail is it's there,
Hmm.
and you can tell they took their time to be like, hey, this we want you to feel like you're in a Star Wars. So for those Star Wars fans, I don't know how you don't go out and at least try the demo and be the
Yep.
first game you play is this, because if you want to feel like you're a character in Star Wars, this is the game to do it. And I've said this before, and I'll say this again about VR. I think VR is about the experiences. And this is one of those. Like when I play Horizon, I felt like I was in the world of Horizon. If you don't feel like you're in the world, I don't think the game actually does justice.
Hmm.
And this one makes you feel like you're in the world.
I think you're spot on there. The game looks and feels great. Like there's it really does make you feel like you're living in that universe. Like you're hanging out with C3PO, you're at the bar, walking around, and it there's a lot there for Star Wars fans to really kind of sink their teeth in and enjoy. So I think again, check the demo out. But as Star Wars fans, like this is for me an easy recommend. And I think we the panel feels similarly. Motion sickness aside.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. Like even like someone like me, yes, I couldn't play it for nearly as long as you guys, but even the time I played with it, as someone who likes Star Wars a lot, I do think it's a worthwhile experience as long as you can, trudge through the experience itself.
There you go. Make sure you go check out Star Wars. Let us know in the comments if you're going to be picking it up or your thoughts about the game. But before we go, of course, Court, if people want to hear more from you, where could they do so?
You can find me on Twitter at Court Lalonde, or you can find me also on Twitter at Carpool Gaming, or on
Or
Wednesday nights at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Three Dads in a Console.
Ryan, what about you?
You can load up your internet browser on your Jedi Holocron
Nice.
and go to the web address http://twitter.com/Ryan Turford.
As for myself,
you, Matt?
come find me on Twitter at Matt_Silverstore. Come hang out watching the PlayStation Drive every Monday at 1 p.m. EST, where we talk all things PlayStation all the time. That brings us to the end. Once again, huge thank you to the developers for hooking us up with the code. We appreciate them very, very much. And we'll see you on the next one. Peace.